KPBS On Demand is supported by UC San Diego's Art Power, presenting cellist Joshua Roman, performing from his album Immunity, alongside music by J.S. Bach and more, Sunday, June 22nd at UC San Diego's Epstein Family Amphitheater. Reserve your tickets at artpower.ucsd.edu.
Welcome back to the KPBS Cinema Junkie podcast. I'm Beth Accomando. It's October and Halloween is just around the corner. In fact, too close. My home haunt is not yet completed, and I'm here recording a podcast. But this is Halloween, my favorite time of the year, and I want to share all the frighteningly good memories I've been gathering about the first film to scare people. My memory of the first film to scare me is so vivid that I wondered what other people might recall about the movies that scared them. Last week, I provided a preview of the podcast on Midday Edition to whet your appetite. But here's the full show. Let's begin with the simple question. Do you remember the first film that scared you? I certainly do. Fear is a primal human emotion, and experiencing fear is something we all tend to remember vividly. My parents took me to some inappropriate films when I was young, but I have to thank them for that because it probably laid the foundation for my love of horror. I saw things that terrified me and kept me awake at night, and when I did fall asleep, the images invaded my dreams. I remember that damn dog carrying around a severed arm in Kurosawa's Yojimbo, and I had vivid nightmares about the film The Collector starring Terrence Stamp and Samantha Eggar, especially a scene where she cracks him over the head with a shovel trying to escape. But the very first film that I remember being scared by, although Disney probably scarred me much earlier, but I'm just not recalling the specifics, is A Boy 10 Feet Tall. I must have seen A Boy 10 Feet Tall when I was only about 4, and I've never seen it since, but it dealt with a young Anglo boy recently orphaned in Africa and starred Edward G. Robinson as what the film called the White Hunter.
A boy 10 feet tall who packed a lifetime of adventure into a few short weeks of running from one desperate end of Africa to the other. He was bombed and strafed at Suez, plodded across the burning eastern Sahara on foot, found himself manacled to a dead man under the blazing sun with vultures overhead.
Handcuffed to a dead man. Yes, that's exactly what I remember being most terrified by. I don't know what was actually in the film, although I should go back and see it again just to see what it was really about. But I had nightmares about being in a dark jungle and not being able to see and dragging a dead body behind me. The film was billed as an adventure for kids, but it's the first memory I have of being scared. So it's not always a horror film that provides the first scare, as writer and filmmaker Clive Barker reveals.
The first movie I remember scaring me was Sleeping Beauty.
Now shall you deal with me, O Prince, and all the powers of hell!
Disney's responsible for the nightmares of many children.
He was, I think, triumphantly good at a particularly American mixture of scares and sentimentality.
The thing about fear is it also produces adrenaline, and the rush from that is kind of exhilarating. That may be why many people can immediately recall the first film to ever scare them.
My name is Mike Hill. I'm a sculptor and monster maker. I'm at Monsterpalooza. The first movie that frightened me was Christopher Lee's Dracula.
Dracula's blood.
I taste the blood of Dracula. That scared the pants off me as a child, and I guess that's the first time I was terrified. It was a coach going through Transylvanian mountains or wherever, and there's a nasty guy on the coach, and he ends up throwing this innocent guy out of the coach, and the guy, he's lost in the middle of nowhere, and he hears this high-pitched screaming. And then next minute he sees Christopher Lee fleeing around with a big cross through him, and to me it was just terrifying. It was blood. It was red. I think it was the garish red blood that did it. Because the classics I was used to. Also, it must have been when we got a colour TV, because before that it was all black and white. And once I think when I saw that blood, it just scared the pants off me and stuck with me. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I forgot all about it. You're right. Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Tom Holland. I'm the writer-director of Fright Night, Child's Play, Psycho 2. The first scary film I remember is Them.
I tell you, gentlemen, science has agreed that unless something is done and done quickly, man, as the dominant species of life on Earth, will be extinct within a year.
A science fiction film about an atomic blast creating giant killer ants, and they invade Los Angeles.
Stay in your homes, I repeat. Stay in your homes. Your personal safety, the safety of the entire city, depends
upon your full cooperation with the military authorities.
Yes, cities, nations, even civilization itself, threatened with annihilation because in one moment of history-making violence, nature, mad, rampant, wrought its most awesome creation. For born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust were things so horrible, so terrifying, so hideous. There is no word to describe them.
And that was the most fun, scary film I remember as a little kid. And the film that changed my life was Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock in 1961. And I was like 16 or 17. And that was such a huge jump in terms of montage and the way it was edited. And that film really did scare me. It was the shower scene. No, I had never seen your female lead killed off in the first 20 minutes. I mean, it violated all the rules. And I never saw something that was that graphic and that terrifying, even though we didn't see anything. It changed my view of editing, because before that I'd been watching Hammer horror movies and AIP, which were very traditional, deeply saturated. They did a close-up, it was a big deal. But Psycho changed all that. Psycho was the beginning of modern horror, and Alfred Hitchcock is the genius of suspense horror filmmaking and the father of it.
Hi, I'm Bernard Rose. I'm the writer and director of Candyman. The first film that I remember really terrifying me is actually a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's a film that Ken Russell made in 1971. It's called The Devils, and it's based on Aldous Huxley's book, The Devils of Loudun.
Grandier. Secluded women. They give themselves to God, but something remains which cries out to be given to man. Now this is sin. My beloved sister in Jesus seems to have set her mind on me. There's no reason.
But of course I can prove nothing. This Mother Superior may be little more than a hysterical nun.
But if it is a genuine case of possession by devils, and if Grandier himself was proved to be involved, then yes, I think it bears investigation, gentlemen.
It's about the possession of a convent of nuns in the 17th century in France. But what the film is about is not the possession of the nuns, it's about how Cardinal Richelieu uses this event to frame the priest, Urbain Grandier, and torture him and burn him to death.
You're going to be tortured. Have you thought of the pain to come? You have one consolation. Hell will hold no surprises for you.
And I think that what truly terrified me was that how the film brilliantly exposes how the state uses fear as a form of oppression, fear and superstition, to achieve fascistic aims. And, all you can say is that's truly terrifying, and that's the world we still live in. I mean, it's a testament to how dull and tame films have become since then. Really, nobody's got even close.
Hi, I'm Lance Henriksen, and the first movie I ever saw that scared me to death was when I was around 11. And I had gone into the theater sort of in the afternoon. By the time the movie was over, it was dark. And it was called The Thing with James Arness.
The Thing from Another World. This is the spot where it was first seen. And these are the first people who saw the Thing.
And I had to walk up the middle of the street. I was so scared something was going to jump out of the doorway or somewhere. The movie changed my life pretty much forever. It was very well made, so. And it was back in the day when there was, language was everything, and it was black and white, and it was brilliant movie.
The juice is off.
Pat, Carrington turned off the generator.
Well, bring the flashlight. Eddie, hold him off as long as you can.
Roger. Watch out, he's got a gun.
It was the overlapping dialogue. It had a touch of reality that other movies did not have. And it was directed by a great director, but also the music and also there were no special effects, there were only practical effects. So it was very cool.
I'm Tony Todd. The first movie I ever saw that really got me was probably Rosemary's Baby. I'm from the East Coast. I did a long time in New York City, so the Dakota, which is also famous for, or infamous for, where John Lennon was assassinated, has such an eerie, creepy presence. And the cast, which included Ruth Gordon and John Cassavetes and Mia Farrow, it was just, the casting was exquisite.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
He has his father's eyes.
The psychological terror that lay within what would happen if this child is taken from a person and diverted to another way. So that got under my skin. I love the psychological tension in it as opposed to just blood and guts.
He came up from hell and begat a son of mortal woman. Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
There's Sidney Blackmere, who was a great classically theater-trained actor, and Ruth Gordon walking up to Dakota after the girl that we had just met with Mia Farrow in the washroom had said, "Be careful," and then she jumps off the balcony. And at that point, we all knew that there was something creepy going on with this couple. It was the way it was shot. Roman Polanski knew how to edit and capture these elusive moments, which is what good films should do. Show you the moments that you don't expect.
Hi everybody, this is Elliot Brodsky from Monsterpalooza, reminiscing about films that I have enjoyed growing up with and that have affected my love of horror and science fiction. The real movie that absolutely made me jump and shiver watching the entire film was Jaws. The fact that I go to the ocean and that I can swim and ride in a boat, and the fact that there is a creature lurking below that surface that really I knew nothing about, and the fact that it could potentially hurt me terrified me. And the fact that this thing was so big, at least in the film, it terrified me that I could be literally within feet of something that I don't even know it's there because it's under the water. And I just remember absolutely walking out of that theater saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw. Can this happen?" And to this day, no film has ever affected me that way.
I'm Kirsten McCallion. I've written a few horror films. I worked on the Texas Chainsaw 3D movie and Exeter, which came out just recently. The first movie to scare me would definitely be Jaws, because I have not been swimming since without total paranoia. You know, the buoy scene, I was pretty much reeled in and scarred for life. But that's great, wonderfully scarred for life.
Hi, my name is Eric Msamanje, and I directed a film called My Mother's Songs. And the first horror movie I ever saw that really scared me and freaked me out was Night of the Living Dead.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
It was just really scary because I was young. I think I was about like 10 years old actually when I saw this film, and I didn't speak any English. It was just visual for me, and obviously, you know, with like the screaming and yada yada yada, it had a impact on me. And the really interesting part for me and why it really stuck out was me being from Tanzania. As a kid, I've always heard stories about zombies, but they operate differently. So seeing them, or seeing these types of zombies on screen, really freaked me out. Yeah, so I always remember that film. Yeah. I think what really got me was the whole, like, the zombies just walking really slow. That's just really freaky to me, you know? And I think that's part of the reason why I was really, well, that's what really made it really strong, was the type of zombie. So in general, it was just the zombie walking really slow, and that just really freaked me out, you know? Because it creates that intensity in you. And I think it was a lot more intensified for me because it was the first time I'd ever seen a scary movie.
My name's John Skipp, co-director of Tales of Halloween. The first movie that actually terrified me and drove me out of the room was Invaders from Mars, the original science fiction film from the 50s.
Invaders from Mars. He saw them land from outer space. He saw them capture innocent people only to destroy.
When I was a little kid, I had a terrible fever, and the rats were crawling down the walls at me. I was hallucinating like a son of a bitch, and they had to do the Jacob's Ladder thing on me, where they threw me into the bathtub full of ice cubes to break the fever before I burned up. So I was terrified of everything. But when I saw Invaders from Mars on a Saturday afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in I would say 1962, I was 5 or 6 years old, and what it was specifically was that if you went out to the back of town and were walking in the sand, all of a sudden the dirt would suck you under, and when you came back, you weren't yourself anymore. And the main character's a little kid, and is shot with this forced perspective, and everything's like looking up, everything's taller than him. From a POV standpoint, I completely related. I felt like that little kid, and it was the first time I realized if this movie was right, I can't trust grown-ups. I can't trust the people who I'm supposed to trust. And that was a really, really terrifying thing.
But nobody's getting anywhere out there. Nobody can locate anything. Anybody. The Martians. We've got to start the...
Invaders from Mars, capturing humans at will for their own sinister purposes, turning them into diabolical instruments of destruction.
My name's Andrew Cash. I'm co-director on Tales of Halloween and Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy. So I had a lot of movies that scared the hell out of me as a kid, but they were all like really scary moments in kids' films, like Disney movies and Return to Oz and Raiders of the Lost Ark. But the first out-and-out horror movie that truly fucked me up was Alien. I saw that when I was 10 years old. I was really not prepared for it at all. I knew nothing about it. I didn't sleep for a week afterwards. But it started my whole lifelong obsession with monsters and various creatures and movie making in general. So, you never forget your first. Alien is the perfect experiment in visual audio horror. It's just a movie that fucks with your head and it has you scanning every inch of the frame, and it's dripping with atmosphere and characters, and it has an amazing monster design and mythology behind it that is just completely terrifying, and it taps into the whole Lovecraft thing, the fear of the unknown, and it's just, to me, it's the perfect horror movie.
My name is Dante, writer-director from Inferno Productions. I remember Alien. It's the HBO Cinemax, one of those two. And I was at my aunt's house. And when it came on, they showed a preview before the movie. And I looked at it, and I looked at my mom. I said, oh, can I watch it? Can I watch it? And she was always one of the people that when the guide would come out, she would mark if there's nudity, if there's too much profanity, or if there's violence and stuff like that. Nope, you can't watch that. But she looked at my aunt, she goes, is there any nudity in this? And she's like, no, it's just, a creature movie, more like a drama or anything like that. Is it okay for him to watch? Oh, yeah. She goes, all right, I'm going to let you watch this, and if you do, I don't want to hear about it. I was like, oh, come on, Mom. I'm a man. So I watched the movie, and at the end of the movie, she said, all right, it's bedtime. And that's when it got stone quiet in the room, because I knew I had to go into a dark room by myself. And I was pretty freaked out for a long time, because I swear I could hear the alien crawling on the ground, crawling through the ducts and stuff, calling my name, come to get me. But I survived the night, so that was awesome. But after that was one of those things where it's I like these movies. I mean, I always liked the old Hammer movies and whatnot, but they never had that type of intensity. And so as, time went on, I really got into some of the gore films, but I remember the first time I saw The Evil Dead, and I was an altar boy. So growing up Catholic, man, I was just for watching this movie, I'm going to hell.
It's not going to let us leave. We're not going to die. We're not going to die. We're going to get out of here.
And it's been a great experience, and I think I will be a horror fan until the day I die.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
My name is Ben Raggington. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm with the TG Geeks podcast. And the very first scene that really freaked me out, I must have been 8 or 9 years old, and it was actually the James Whale Frankenstein. There's a scene right after the monster is actually up. Dr. Frankenstein comes into the lab, sees him standing there, and they did a really scary film technique where they do these little quick close-ups. Bang, bang, bang. So you see him almost, half body up, then you see shoulder up, then you see face up, and it's clip, 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 like that. And the way Boris Karloff was acting it with that makeup really, as a child, freaked me out beyond belief. I mean, I literally ran out of the room into my bedroom. It just so terrified me. The very first thing that ever scared me in the films.
To a new world of gods and monsters.
I am Keith Lane. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I have a most memorable scary sequence, and that was from the Dark Shadows movie, and that was, 1970?
House of Dark Shadows. Where death is a way of life.
Barnabas had taken the medicine that was supposed to cure him, and they flashed that close-up of his face. My sister and I, we were at the Ritz Theater, which was fondly known as the Rats, because the floor, your feet stuck to the floor. It was one of those old vaudeville theaters converted to a movie theater. We were sitting on the second or third row, and we ran halfway up the aisle when that flashed, screaming like little girls. Well, my sister was a little girl, but so it was 1970-ish. And I think the first film that scared me was in the 70s on Mazeppa Pompazoides Uncanny Film Festival and Camp Meeting at midnight. It was the midnight creature feature, and it was the Dracula film. And I curled up in the fetal position on the couch because I was the only one up watching TV at that time. So those are my two scarable memory moments.
More than 100 years ago, in a mountain village in Switzerland, lived a man whose strange experiments with the dead have since become a legend that is still told with horror the world over.
I'm Nick Ravelis. I'm the Director of Education and Community Engagement at San Diego Opera. The first movie to really scare me was the first Hammer film, The Curse of Frankenstein.
Wicked, insane, evil, call Frankenstein what you will. A demon had made a man-made monster, and now the monster was the master.
Oh, what are you going to do? For your sake and to protect Elizabeth, I've so far kept silent. But now I shall go to the authorities and have them destroy that creature. And see that you pay for these atrocities. No!
I was, I believe, 8, and I didn't sleep for like 2 or 3 weeks. But then it came out, I think, in the summer. So I was at summer school and I started drawing the creature over and over again. And I sort of got used to him and got familiar with him. And that sort of got me into horror. I just enjoyed the scare, the thrill. It was really cool.
I can't prove you murdered, but I can stop you using his brain.
Why, he has no further use for it?
Don't be careful!
All of the pre-creature stuff that Peter Cushing, as Dr. Frankenstein, was doing in the lab. But the other thing was just the makeup of the creature. It just scared me. The image, the icon. I mean, I was sort of used to the old classic Frankenstein. I wasn't expecting that makeup at all. It just did me in.
Hello, my name is J.T. Seaton, and I'm the writer-director of The Peripheral. The first movie I remember scaring me was, and it's probably going to be cliche, but the original Halloween.
Halloween night. A small American town. 15 years ago.
I remember seeing the film and being so scared that when I went to bed that night, I could literally see the outline of Michael Myers in my doorway and hear the breathing through the mask. That's how scared I was by that film. So that's the first movie I remember really scaring me was John Carpenter's original Halloween.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him,
and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
I'm Kevin Walsh. I live up in Burbank, and I'm a horror fan and script reader and sometime writer. So the first film that I remember ever really scaring me, believe it or not, was The Exorcist, because I saw it way too young. And I had heard of it. I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. I was at a friend's house, and we were being babysat while our parents were out. And it came on, and I said, oh, we should check this movie out. It's supposed to be scary. So it was me and another 9-year-old and then a poor teenage girl who was babysitting us. And shortly after we started the film, we had the blanket laid out on the ground with 2 peaks in it so that we could duck and hide behind it when things got scary. And the teenager was curled up tighter and tighter in a fetal position on the couch. And I remember at one point we had to turn off the sound because of Mercedes McCambridge's voice. It just terrified us so much. So we ended up half watching it silently for the rest of the evening. And it just stayed with me since then. It's still the scariest movie I've ever seen.
Your mother's in here with his cars. Would you like to leave a message? I see that she gets it.
Hi, my name is Gigi Saul Guerrero, and I'm here at Horrible Imaginings in San Diego. Man, the first film that scared me, well, I was always really afraid of all the covers that I would see at Blockbuster in the horror aisle. I was so scared. But the first film that really scared me was, of course, The Exorcist. I was not allowed to watch it. But then in Mexico, it came out again, remastered. I must have been only 9 years old. So it had new sound, new color, new scenes. So my mom was like, okay, do you want to get scared? I'm going to take you so you can shut up. Because I was begging her to take me. And she's like, fine, I'm going to take you. So she took myself and my cousin. We were little. And yeah, traumatized the hell out of me. I'm a huge believer in all that paranormal stuff. So that movie made a huge impact on me. And I don't think any film has done that to me since. I've been scared, I've screamed, I've squirmed, but yeah, no, Exorcist wins, 100%.
Mother, please! Please, what is it? What's happening? Stop! It's burning! It's burning!
Do something, Doctor, please help her.
Please, Mother! We'll make it stop! It's trying to kill me!
It was one of those films where it was so creepy from the beginning, and it was so slow, and it was a slow burner, but just the imagery and the dialogue and Linda Blair, I can see why her as a kid she went to a psychiatrist after. What she did was insane. Traumatizing. Everything about that film is so scary. They crossed that line, so yeah, I want to see more like that.
My name is Jennifer McCleary, and the first movie I was scared at was The Exorcist. In that bed scene where her head turns.
Begone! In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, by this sign of the Holy Cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien!
I was about 7 years old, and I was shocked. And I think it was one of those moments where I truthfully put my hands over my eyes and screamed. I had to watch it over and over again, though, later on, even through my teenage years, just to be like, all right, I got to see that again. And I didn't think that priests could do stuff like that. It really made me think about probably my belief system in some form or fashion, and that it made me stop and think that maybe folks could actually be taken over by demons, and that kind of freaked me out in a way where I wanted to search into that more, which I still do to this day.
My name's Amy Bosler. I'm the executive director of the Regional Emmys in San Diego, and the first horror movie that I saw, I begged my father to take me to see The Exorcist because my older brother and sister had seen it. And I was in second grade. And pestering prevailed over good parenting. The pea soup kind of started it, the green barf, even though my dad said, oh, it's just a special effect, it's just pea soup. The bed shaking and everything like that really horrified me. I couldn't go to sleep without my dad sitting next to me for about 2 months. It didn't help that I shared a room with my sister. My sister thought it was really funny to shake the bed and pretend like, the devil was coming after us. I've never seen it again. I don't think I could actually sit through it again because I think my reaction was just so strong. I don't think, even though I know how movies are made, I still don't think I could sit through it because just the emotions that it would bring up would be so strong. I don't think I could. I probably wouldn't sleep again for like another 6 months if I saw it again.
And to go out, here's director Guillermo del Toro, whose gothic romance Crimson Peak just opened. He talks about being scared not by a film, but by a TV show.
Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
What happened is when I was a kid, the first time I saw any lasting image of horror was through a TV program called The Outer Limits.
We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image. Make it flutter.
After seeing that program, I unfortunately was scared terribly by my brother, and I peed on my bed. It was actually my crib. And then after that night, I started seeing monsters in my room. Every time I would see the monsters in my room, I wanted to go to the bathroom, and I couldn't. So I ended up peeing in my crib again. And my mother started punishing me. One night, I just stood in my crib and told the monsters in my room if they allowed me to go to pee, I would be their friend for the rest of my life. And that's how I fell in love with monsters.
Once again, it seems like it's not always a bad thing for a child to be scared by a movie or TV show. Thanks for listening to the KPBS Cinema Junkie podcast. As I close, I want you to think about the first film that scared you and share your memories with me on my Cinema Junkie blog at kpbs.org/cinemajunkie. I'll be heading off to Wales next week for the Abattoir Horror Film Festival and hope to snag a few podcast interviews for you. But I might not be hitting the regular Thursday and Friday posting times, so please be patient and keep checking back for some horrific fun.
KPBS On Demand is supported by UC San Diego's Art Power, presenting cellist Joshua Roman, performing from his album Immunity, alongside music by J.S. Bach and more, Sunday, June 22nd at UC San Diego's Epstein Family Amphitheater. Reserve your tickets at artpower.ucsd.edu.